Where did we leave off on for part one?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, I think we actually ended on a really cool image. It was when Uso had gone in to rescue Shakti, and he ended up like finding Maria doing like a speech or something, and he tries to like kidnap her.
Yeah, okay, awesome.
There's that image of like him kneeling with the hand out toward Maria.
It was a cool thing. Yeah, so we left off right around the introduction of Maria. I guess her attempted kidnapping.
Like as more of a character rather than like this background.
Things keep on keeping on from that point.
Yeah.
We see the Queen Maria ritual go on.
Right
around where we picked up, or what she heals like a crowd of ill people.
Yeah.
And then
I noticed like. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, you can go ahead.
I was gonna say. First of all, welcome to Pleasant Evenings Book Club. Wait, no, welcome to Mobile Suit Book Club, the sub show within Pleasant Evenings Book Club, where we're covering the second half of Victory Gundam.
Yes, welcome. Sorry, we should have done that first, shouldn't
we? We were like, oh, what do we do for a cold open? How about nothing?
And just dive right into it.
How about we just don't even open? Drop the cold and drop the open.
I mean, that's how hype I am for Victory.
Yeah. Do you want to? I might say. I feel like I've said this almost every time. This might be my favorite Gundam yet.
Yeah. I mean, they just keep on. I don't know if they get better and better, but like they each have their own things that are kind of unique to them. You know.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna be able to substantiate it exactly, but this being like for the most part something authored by Tomino over the course of years, like. What Victory Gundam is like a little under 20 years after 79.
Right about. It's like 18-ish years or so. It's been going on.
Yeah.
For a while at this point.
Like it's weird, like it's had a lot more longevity than like the MCU as like a modern, or even like Star Wars of course has huge legs, but like the way it got ran into the ground. Like it feels like each iteration here of the Gundam is with care, and Tomino's such an interesting like artist that I feel like every time he comes up with a new one, like he has to think about selling toys and all that, but he's also like he's got these ideas about what capital G Gundam means, and so it feels like every subsequent show like builds on those ideas or comments on things.
Definitely. So it doesn't feel super tired that it's hung up on its continuity of 18 plus years.
Right. So like I think that's why when I keep saying like I think this might be my favorite one yet, is that I think like as this show that we're doing has gone on, as I become more of a Gundam fan, every time there's a new one, it's like here's a wrinkle on how to appreciate it. Like as my appreciation for Gundam like ages, Gundam itself ages along with it.
Well said. I obviously I agree. I don't see much like degradation yet. Mm-hmm. As these generations like move on.
Right.
It's just cool. Like this kind of feels like a revisiting of what Char said in Counterattack as he was dying, where he's like, "Oh, Lala could have been a mother to me," or like a mother amongst new types. And what's cool about Victory is that I feel as though it's kind of unpacking that that one statement and really kind of giving it more exclamation and like weight.
That's a really good point. Like digging into that instead of like this like thing that is said, that like because like when Char said that, it was like strange, but then it just makes me like go back to the rest of the show and like try to like see where it fits, like how I can put that on top of how I had seen Char. But like actually like those themes, like drama, like being an essential part of the drama, like right on top. That's a really good point. I kept thinking like of how a lot of this how a lot of the elements in Victory Gundam are kind of paying off the promise of F91.
Yeah, I thought so too, because I mean like the antagonist grunts are designed in much the same way.
Yeah, like emphasizing strange eyes.
Some of these scenes are more animalistic with the insect type Gundams, or
I love that.
the snake
I love
looking
those.
ones. Yeah, they're so cool. They're so wicked cool.
That snake one though, like one of the biggest flaws. I love how sometimes they'll just introduce something and then it won't pan out like within the next episode.
No, nope, it don't work out all the time.
Weirdly enough, that the mobile suit that looked like a bug was like one of the most terrifyingly effective ones.
Yeah, that one worked well for sure.
He wasn't even a part of any mission. He just like saw an opportunity. He's like, oh, I prepared just in case for this myself. Like a true entrepreneur.
I like the continuation of the plasma shields too, and like the helicopter rotors on the arms.
Yeah, a lot of the beam shields and beam weapons.
They seem less advanced than in F91 though. F91 had the cool like.
Oh yeah, those banners.
Those were kind of fun.
Yeah, and of course we also have like that promise. I remember thinking like, oh, what a shame that we didn't get that plot line in F91 where there would have been a religion forming around what was her name, Cecilia.
Yeah.
And then in Maria we get a continuation of those themes about like seeking a mother and like the strange, like I would say it's like a little more entrenched than just a religious cult, even though this has to be like a pretty young religion.
I think the Moon colony like movement really took it gained legs, I think.
It was an offshoot.
So I thought Maria really aesthetically resembled those like priestess characters. I'm totally blanking on their names.
Yeah, me too. What was it? There was it was like they had like flipped names.
Yeah.
Rasara and Sarasa.
There we go.
Right. And for a while one of them had more military ambitions and one was more of a pure peace.
Yeah.
Icon.
Maria kind of feels like a callback to that, at least in like how she's designed with the blue robes and some of that jewelry there.
I see, but she had like those like long like sleeves, like.
Yeah.
I didn't know actually that the Catholic Church was doing a Gundam reference when they drew all those Virgin Marys.
Yeah, no, that's true.
It's like a more, like as we go, like it's a more influential show than I've given it credit for.
Yeah, it influenced the aesthetics of the Catholic Church.
But I thought Maria was really interesting. I think that we can, going back into the events of the show.
The contrast of like her healing, and then right after that, guillotine comes out. Like that's a contrast. That's like an absolute flip around in tone.
Right, and how do they expect like everyone to be on board? I guess they were.
Yeah.
That was really interesting. You know, I guess like that like becomes like the central like conflict around Maria, is that she seems to genuinely believe in healing all these people and sacrificing her own well-being for the sake of others, like a true like my background would say Christian saint, but you know, I bet there's, and her name is Maria. There's a lot of that, but
I mean, she's pretty benevolent for someone that could be completely absolutist.
Yeah.
She could totally take like the Tsar Nicholas route and be like, oh well, I'm the policewoman of the space colonies.
Yeah, I think we see, and it's just because like at first I thought it was just gonna be like she believes in these things and Zanskar is kind of like using her influence to suit their goals, like. Krollo has his idea of what a matriarchy should be. Yeah. Which is kind of like a warped devotion. And I forgot this guy's name already. Karatier, yeah. Tries to use her in his own way, and then that other guy, I forgot his name already.
It feels to me that her brother and Katarzyna are like the true representatives of what Maria is about. Right. At least throughout most of this second arc. Yeah, like where Karatier and that other guy who wants to just use her as a figurehead, like they just see like the power of her influence, period. But Krollo and then I guess like Katarzyna is at first is like that, and then like seems to descend into another kind of pathology altogether. I feel like they're
they like take like the consequences of her teachings further.
Yeah.
But it's like it's just interesting. But like thinking about Maria herself, I thought it was like she's just like idealistic and like despotic a little bit, like kind of putting everything on her shoulders out of a sense of duty or benevolence.
Yeah, and it's to the point that it just cuts her off of like everything that her people are doing, and just it's
right. Like they know, like, oh, she's gonna be asleep right after this healing ritual, so we can just bring out the guillotine right now since we already have the crowd.
right. Like I was gonna say,
Like,
it does make me question like how aware of some of the stuff she is. Is she not? Like,
I think like my read on it. Oh, go ahead.
Is she that stupid? Sorry.
My read on it, and this is because of a line that Krollo says later that kind of like unlocked a lot of things for Krollo for me, but also for her, is that like she's incredibly influential, but she is in the middle of a court of full of like competing powerful violent interests. So she has to, so there's also like a little, I feel like there's probably like a little bit of like self-preservation too. There's one bit where you see her be a little bit more savvy, where she gives Uso the candy that then have the directions for where Shakti's gonna be, and helps them make their escape. And it's telling that she sees Zanskar is gonna do something she doesn't like. Maybe she doesn't know about the guillotine. I don't know. But she sees that Zanskar is like up to things she doesn't like, but she doesn't directly intervene. Sometimes she'll say like, "Don't harm him," and that's like understandable. But this escape she has to do secretly.
Right. I guess you gotta survive the brutalities of court life.
Yeah. So I think that was my read, and then like that can inform my read on Krollo too, like his wielding of war so readily. Later they're told that it's like I see hatred wrapped in kindness on your six, whatever. But he says something like everything I do is because I am Maria's brother. I forgot the line was exactly, but like it like so. Sorry if this sounds like a little bit too much like fan fiction, but I imagine Krollo like seeing Maria kind of be super important and super influential, and her strong like spiritual, and it's funny, I don't think they say new type around her. I feel like in this show, like new type only gets brought up in military context now.
It's only ever in the context of them interacting with the Uso.
Yeah, but like around Maria and Shakti, it doesn't come up.
No, it's the, what do you call them, the side chicks or whatever.
This what?
The sidekicks.
Oh,
like that's brought up a lot.
The sidekickers. Sorry, I heard side chicks.
No, sidekickers. That's what it was.
But yeah, so Maria has this psychicer spiritual glow about her that I'm sure like Krollo was very influenced by.
Yeah.
And he also sees her kind of like stuck in this position. So in that kind of thing of like, I have to take care of my family, I have to take care of my sister. I think like she's the best. I want her to be in charge. Why taking on the sin of being a military guy and doing things out of a sense of like, don't you see she's the one you should trust?
Right. There's sense among siblings too, for like, like archetypally one for them to be more about like the earthly matters, and one of them to be more the spiritual figure.
And Katarzyna feels like totally like divorced from all that spiritual. Like Krollo, I guess I would put in the middle, and Katarzyna, my read on her is like
honestly, I couldn't read her. I'm gonna jump ahead here. I thought the closure of the show was maybe a little bit unfair to Katarzyna. It seems like she took the brunt of all of Zanskar's consequences.
Right.
Which seems a little far when she was trying to start out as like a double agent.
Yeah, and she so quickly became like the biggest, and I say this with love, I suppose, but like the biggest nuisance. Like she became like the angriest, most devoted Uso hater.
Yeah, I never quite understood why she hated him so much. I guess it was that relationship he had with Shakti, I guess.
I think that might have been, yeah, I think that might have been part of it. Like her ill-fated attempt to destroy Uso with bikini babes.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like maybe it's. I guess I like that it ultimately didn't work and took up like 7 minutes of screen time. I don't know if it would have been funnier if it would have made the show worse if that was like the silver bullet against Uso. But then she's like, her feelings are kind of hurt afterwards. Like, damn, I thought Uso was all about me.
Yeah, right.
And later she's like, there's that image of her like laughing while Crollo and Uso are like at the palm of her hand. And it's funny because I didn't read that from Uso, like maybe a little bit kind of from Crollo, but I was like, where's this coming from?
So I mean, Uso has like that like young boy in adolescence like interaction with like Marbe and like
the Shrike team,
right? Which I guess like Katajina was around long enough to maybe see or like make note of.
Yeah. And like wrapped in all this, there is some gender stuff that I maybe will have to unpack. Hopefully it'll come up naturally as we go. But putting that aside, what I noticed in Katarzyna is like when at the start, like Hewig gets like bombed, right? That horrible like attack.
Yeah.
And she's so pissed off and idealistic. And at one point she's like, oh, that's good. All these bourgeois people that supported this injustice are bearing some of the brunt now. She has a fight with her dad and I guess never sees him again. She encourages Uso to fight in the League Militaire. Like it seems like she's like kind of like an idealistic and angry youth who like gets like bitter and cynical about everything.
I guess she's like she's a more effective Rakoa from Zeta.
Oh yeah, because I forgot about that backstory that they made for her. I forgot all about that because of the gender stuff with Rakoa. But that's right, that she was kind of a wayward revolutionary.
Fighting for survival once her friends died.
Yeah. Then and I guess Katarzyna, we see that a little bit more. And then like Crollo was just like very Crollo's pitch of a matriarchy was like, oh, maybe I can get behind this idealistic thing, and maybe it came from like a little bit of like ego.
Yeah.
And it ultimately devolves so much into that like her battle at the end wasn't even for a matriarchy, for a version of Zanskar with Maria. I don't know if she realized that Maria had died or not. I think so. But either way, like, then it's just about like, well, I have these two men who I imagine are obsessed with me.
Right.
And I guess we'll get to, I don't know, I'm kind of scared to unpack some of the gender stuff because I feel like, as always, it's always the weirdest aspect of these shows.
Yeah. I guess what's kind of cool about it here is that it feels like a more direct connection to like Evangelion and its gender aspects.
How do you mean? Like stuff about motherhood, or?
So this is about motherhood with Marbe, clearly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gotta be one of my all-time favorite scenes in all of Gundam is when when he can like sense the baby and they're talking about war and life and family. Like, oh my god. Sorry, I don't want to sidetrack the Evangelion thing. We can talk about it later. I'll put a pin on that scene. I thought it was so sweet and like so warm.
Yeah, it was pretty wholesome. I totally agree with that. Where was I going with this? So like the 1 second here. I'm trying to recall like every like character name. Try to be as clear as possible. But I think Shinji as a figure is maybe more like bastardized Uso, but he has a lot of interactions, or Uso has a lot of these like young boy feminine interactions with Misato, Asuka. I think Asuka is kind of similar to Katajina too in a lot of ways.
That kind of like anger and like this sort of like the way that Asuka like only feels comfortable when she's like, at least at the beginning, when she's like excelling and like being the center of attention and stuff.
Right. And I guess the difference between Katajina and Asuka is that some of that center of attention, attraction stuff is probably more true with Shinji. I guess there's just more
Yeah.
like character archetypal comparisons that maybe existed in like other super robot mecha, but
Right. Like, there's shades of Amuro and Shinji. That kind of like proper, quiet, I'm not sure what's the right thing to do, kind of awkward.
that's fair. Uso's mom's more present too. I think a case can be made for Gendo Ikari and
Jin?
Jin.
Yeah. I have my
They're like the
notes here.
same archetype. They're like the exact same character.
Yeah. But Jin is like sneaky. Like Gendo, you see him with his sunglasses and you go, oh, asshole. Oh, I can tell. Like everything about him like reads as like bad dad. Jin, like my notes, I started writing notes, and when we first meet the real Jin Jahanam, I just wrote Uso's dad is hot, and that was betrayed pretty quickly. I should have known from his general absence before.
He is a looker, but like all the interactions with the Federation admiral that is like co-captaining the ship or like the fleet with Jin. They have a lot of weird conversations where it's like, wow, Jin is kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, among the adults, and they're always like, he's always like, being like, wow, I didn't expect Uso to make it that far, and it's like you keep underestimating your son. It's like if you thought he wasn't gonna make it that far, so you thought he was gonna die, and you were cool with that, and like everyone else who actually had time with Uso, they all just not only like believe in him, but like care about his like well-being and his development.
Yeah.
Like like the maybe Uso would have turned out more like Shinji because he's so sensitive, and if he didn't have like Shinji, he didn't have the support system he ended up having.
Right. I guess his pilots are fairly comparative just because of the age closeness.
Mm-hmm.
For Shinji and all the Evangelion pilots are like 13, 14.
Yeah.
Uso's right there.
Right. Damn, I love Uso. I'm glad he didn't die. I was for sure.
Yeah, I'm sad by like who went. Yeah, oh that sucked.
I was tearing. I was like seriously like gutted. I felt it in my throat as I was watching it.
I'm like, oh my god, he was so close to making it too.
Yeah. And it was like at the end, like the conflict was basically over. It was just like Katarzyna's like last tantrum.
Right. I'm so happy Shakti made it through. I wasn't sure because of the way the show opens, and she's like made out of starlight, and has like this angelic aesthetic about her. I'm like, oh no.
Like there's so much made out of them hearing the bells, and it was like those who hear the bells are the ones who are gonna die. I forget the phrase was exactly.
Yeah, it was. That was cool though. Well, because they made like part of the lore that like whoever heard they would attach bells to people that were about to be executed via guillotine. I wonder if that's true or not.
It sounds pretty cool.
I don't know enough about French history to know for sure if that's a thing, and I really do hope that's a legit historical thing.
I remembered because like Casarelia is kind of like Eastern Europe ish.
Yeah.
So, but my first thing is like I first remember like Sabres of Paradise, all that stuff about bells.
Yeah.
But then I thought, okay, but if they wore belts before being executed, surely it would have come up in Sabres of Paradise. There's no way Leslie Blanche would give that up.
No. Well, because it's such a poetic trope of that's not who the bell tolls for.
Listen, I'm just gonna Google bells and guillotine.
Thank you. I did mean to look it up before, so.
Oh yeah, there's a whole Wikipedia about that specifically.
No way.
Wait, what? This is something. Wait, what? Okay, the bal de victime, the victim's balls. good phrase. Band name right there. Were balls that were said to have been put on by dancing societies after the Reign of Terror. Oh, balls like dancing. Then what's this about? Google search sucks now. It has nothing to do with bells. But there were like, I guess, dancing music. Those who attended the orgiastic balls reportedly wore mourning clothes or elaborate costumes with crepe armbands signifying mourning. The very idea of the balls reflected post-terror generation's morbid fascination with the horror of the guillotine and the excesses of the French Revolution with its mass executions. That's interesting. It wasn't what I was looking for, but that is interesting.
Yeah, I guess a funeral toll kind of fits with that too.
Yeah. There's a movie called Jingle Bells, published by Guillotine Films. So there's echoes. Either way, it's kind of a perfect thing.
I mean, it just worked aesthetically with some of the more Eurocentric visuals that Victory was trying to go for.
Yeah. Although, like, I'll admit, there was something fun about Foila Griffin's return, but I honestly I liked the her terrifying death by being shuttled off into space, like more than anything like with her returning. That kind of like orbital strike on Ewig was scary on its own, but I don't like her coming back. Yeah.
I guess she herself was kind of scary enough that it works that she was the person behind the bells, the person behind launching these orbital laser attacks.
Yeah.
Like I agree with you that I don't super like as like an audience member to like see a character's supposed death just for them to come back.
Yeah, unless it's like Reina in Double Zeta Gundam.
Yeah.
I didn't see much benefit in bringing Foil Griffin specifically for that. Like,
I mean, it could have been that ship captain himself.
yeah, that'd be something. Like he's like putting things into his own hands. I didn't pick up on that guy being the guy that escaped from the guillotine.
I didn't connect the right way either.
Honestly, like if I'm coming clean, the first time you see Foila Griffin and her bells, like I didn't recognize that was her either. I was like, oh, it's another one. They just introduced another one with the hair.
You know, it would have been funnier if they were like her twin sister or something.
Or like a Rosamia situation.
Yeah, they could have done that instead, or like play and play two.
Right. It's funny how many, I guess like Xeon, a lot of the Xeon technology has faded away, so they don't have access to cyber new types or cloning.
Cloning's cool. I thought that they never quite got the cyber new type character like perfect. I guess play was the closest.
Yeah. Like 4 has left like a kind of mark on me.
She left an impression. I recall one thing you said about them being like what was the word
like manic pixie.
Manic space pixies is what you said, and ever since you made that observation, it's like, yeah. He's kind of right. That is not that it's bad or anything, but it just never went like full on.
That's true. And maybe that I didn't miss it when it didn't come back. But if they had done something with that then paid off in some way, they had like a fully developed character in that. I guess play kind of.
Yeah,
that would have been nice.
Maybe there's room for that still in the Gundam universes.
Yeah, well, we're gonna. I mean, what are we getting up to now? Like, Fighter G, Gundam Wing.
Hell yeah!
And then, but like, is this as far into UC as the timeline goes?
So I think there was like one live action movie that like some smaller studio. It's not a main release, but there was like a live action movie
like
that
a
was
Canadian.
A little bit later. Yeah, that's what it was. But the main release is that like everyone in the fandom references. Victory is like the latest thing that anyone cares about.
And then everything else is like AU.
Yeah.
Or like
AU or like kind of filler of
you've never seen the 1 year war like this before.
Right, exactly.
It's gonna be
or I guess some like fillings between Char's counterattack and victory, like Hathaway.
I'm looking forward to that one. That one looks like
That'll be
the
cool.
animation looks so nice.
Hell yeah. Yeah, there's like a Twitter quote from Tomino that he's gonna crush Demon Slayer and
Right.
Evangelion and all these recent releases, and it was right around the time that the first Hathaway released.
Is Hathaway a Tomino joint?
So he did like the light novels of them,
Oh right.
and they're just now being adapted by I don't know who.
Yeah, there's some Shuko Murase.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I also I wanted more Gundam. I couldn't wait, so I already kind of got to start on a couple episodes of Fighter G.
Oh, that's cool.
You're gonna. I think you're gonna dig it. I think you're gonna dig it. It's like super. It's different, right?
Mm.
But there's some amazing set pieces and some awesome design that they have going on, and the fights do kind of feel like a Jet Li Kung Fu movie.
But with like giant robots.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I keep seeing like a picture of like I guess the opening credits where Earth is like a boxing ring. Like there's like a hexagon surrounding the Earth.
Yeah, I was kind of iffy on it the first episode, but the second one has the American Gundam fighter, and I think you're gonna dig it. I think it's
finally some representation for Americans.
It got me. The American representation was absolutely fucking hilarious.
I can't wait. That's it. I'm glad that after like because this Victory Gundam got so heavy, it'll be fun to see the rest.
Yeah, just to enjoy some more campiness involved is fun. Sorry, we're distracting from Victory here, which is definitely up there in terms of the Gundams.
Right.
I was going where conversation was flowing, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear that your excursions are coming out or are coming back with gold. I'm looking at my notes and I'm glad I wrote it down because I forgot that the name of that pilot guy who executed Fuala and then brought her back.
Yeah.
And was doing all of his counter coup or there were so many coups. Like this always happens where someone goes against the Federation and they all trip over each other.
Yeah.
I never get tired of it. It always feels real.
It just seems reminiscent of Char every time.
Right. Behind the scenes did so much to help the Federation.
Yeah. Never claimed he would or was helping the Federation, but goddamn was he helpful.
Yeah.
What was the guy's name? Sorry.
Tassilo Wago.
Wago. I like that. Wago could have been like a main villain.
Right. It got a little dense with villains that all had their own motivations.
Or like old man Fonzie could have been like the ending villain too. Yeah, I mean there's a lot of them this time around too. There's a lot of Zanskar factions.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded if somehow at the end Jin Jahanam became the villain, like in an Evangelion-esque.
Oh
turn.
Yeah.
But I guess his thing was more like he's just so devoted to this cause, than that he didn't have time to see his son as a person.
Yeah. I think the wildest thing design wise is probably these huge like mothership spaceships with wheels rolling through and going through their like earth cleansing operations. That was nuts.
Like literally steamroll over the Earth forces, but just being so freaking huge.
And just happening to have tires.
Right, and it's like, no, it's the motorcycle is what made it so terrifying. It's like, no, it's just because it's really, really big. It could have been a really, really big anything, and it probably would have had a pretty good success.
What was that designer's name? What was that?
Let me see if I have it here. Oh, PP Niden. He was a bastard, but that wasn't him. Oh damn! On my notes, I just wrote Mr. Motorcycle. I'm sorry. I don't.
I mean, I love how passionate he was about motorcycles, and I
Yeah.
thought he had a super cute relationship with like his lover slash other Zanskar pilot,
Yeah.
and their ending, although sad and tragic, and ultimately leading to death. I thought their spirits riding away on a motorcycle was super super cool.
Yeah, like when they're cut away to like that kind of like fantasy zone, when it was just like a ghost motorcycle in the sky, my first instinct was to hee hee and haha. But it was sweet. And then there was that montage of their moments together, but the clips were like 90% him saying her name.
Yeah,
It was
occasionally,
sweet though.
occasionally with that ridiculous fucking wig.
Oh right. That's so crazy that they like wrung the pathos out of man obsessed with motorcycles. And what a strange thing, like he's the guy who revived the old tradition of motorcycling, which like I guess like from our perspective would be like a guy who's like so obsessed with jousting. Uh, and then his response is to like he loves motorcycling so bad that he has to come back to the birthplace of motorcycling, and assist the religious, I don't know, like fanatical religious space country to do a cleansing of Earth, like the largest scale genocide you could imagine.
All because for with and around motorcycle.
Like there has to have, couldn't he have just enjoyed motorcycling?
Yeah, I mean those like O'Neill type colonies are big enough.
Yeah, even then. But you could probably do sticker like tricks because of the low gravity.
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone has their thing that they take too far, I guess.
Right. But like I guess like it's still touching because I don't know, there's something about like his devotion. He's really into motorcycles. That's his number one passion. That's how he just sees the world as a place to be trod upon by motorcycles. You know, he had that relationship with second in command. I don't know. There's something like how like competent, like honorable he was.
Yeah, she wanted like a cabin too. It was kind of cute.
There's something I think it was something that I also thought was weird about Xeon is that like Xeon like wanted independence. They saw being a space noid as like superior.
Yeah.
But they keep like attacking the Earth Federation, occupying them. You know, and we talked about like why doesn't Char just like go out to space by himself, and you know, as we know later, it turned out the Earth Federation was more whatever, like a more oppressive hegemony than we thought.
Yeah.
But there's more in this one about like the kind of call or allure of Earth, like that, like I guess like the thing to talk about is like that scene where they're like at that island, like where all those bones are washing up.
Yeah.
Like how like just like the ebb and flow of life and death is something that is like that can be like overwhelming if you're not used to it.
Right, but it's like tied to the planet and its whole like stratosphere itself.
Yeah. And you know, they have that conversation about life and death and all that. But then later they go out into space and they talk about the warmth that they had felt from like every tree and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is like, yeah, going back to Mr. Motorcycle and their imagined cabin. It was interesting to see all these officers like seeing this manifest destiny mission into Earth as like, and then when we're on Earth, we can, once we get rid of all these pesky Earthlings,
federations,
yeah, then we can have the idyllic peace that we imagine.
Right.
I feel like most of the time when we get like a general of the week in Gundam, a lot of times like they're like honorable or they're out for revenge because the last general of the week was like someone's friend.
Yeah.
It's interesting to imagine like to see them like imagining what their lives will be like after they complete the mission. And then we see that later.
Yeah, and I mean those dreams are nothing bad either.
Yeah, I think there's a theme that I think. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking about like in Char's counterattack where Amuro and Char are like fighting and like discussing politics, and Amuro says something about how intellectuals are like disappointed by political movements and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of reminds me of Katarzyna as well. Like that kind of like model for someone. But there's a theme that I think is really well dramatized in Victory Gundam. I guess we talk about it with Maria. Maria is how a lot of the time like these like innocent dreams get hijacked by violent political movements.
Yeah.
Like the psychicers, right? Like Maria's like praying for peace and all this stuff, and the psychicers all believe in Maria, and they're like suspended in this giant like prayer machine. And meanwhile, like Zanskar is like, oh good, this will help us do our genocide easier.
Right. I mean, if anything, it ended up being their genocide like machine,
right?
Because it was destroying Earthlings at like a cellular level,
right? Or infantilizing them, which is very interesting whenever anime brings that up.
How often does anime bring that up?
I guess very rarely, but sometimes there's like critiques of the anime industry itself as something that like keeps people sort of like trapped.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I guess it happens kind of rarely. Stuff like maybe like Welcome to the NHK or Evangelion. Did you watch the Rebuild movies?
I have not watched the Rebuild movies.
Oh, that's it. It's interesting. I won't say anything about them.
Are they worth watching?
Yeah. Like the first two are, or like the first 1.5 are like kind of almost like straight remakes of Evangelion, but it justifies its existence very quickly, and it becomes like a new strange thing.
Interesting. That's cool.
I imagine there's like some themes there.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting for like these animations to like praise youth, criticize adults, but at the same time, the risk of taking anime and these fandoms too far and this escapisms is that it is kind of infantizing or people out of touch.
That's I think you said it really well, and that reminds me more of like these. I feel like one of the main themes in Victory Gundam is that relationship between like youth and adults. Like a lot of time, idealism is like Uso's thing is that he's idealistic about peace. Like he like is revolted by the idea of killing someone. It's like his biggest thing is if he sees a person, he'd rather not kill them.
Yeah, I think for Uso, like the biggest thing against Zanskar is the use of a guillotine to kill another. Like that felt like his biggest thing. Not so much of like, oh, these people are trying to get back to Earth or whatever. I don't think he cares too much about that.
Yeah, he understands. Like he likes working on a farm, and like he does like find that life like rewarding and peaceful, and like. He's not like one of those people that's like, I'm itching to go to war because I just feel empty without it.
No, and he like he's willing to share that life with people for sure because of what he did for that one family of that soldier that died.
Right, another example of someone who was like imagining what their life would be once the effort like came to fruition. Right, and like this youth versus adult thing, I guess, is like one of the things is like the kind of like the worst way to age is one where you give up on all that idealism, and the next way is like there's like I don't know if this, I think it ties into the sorry I'm like trying to think like how to phrase it. There's like this thing about life and death, how it's like one thing, like that became a big thing. But I would say like the positive version of how someone can like age or like be an adult would be like Marbet, who, when she's pregnant, like it's like very thing like, oh, like the new life. But like just like the way she treats Uso, like the way she protects that idealism. Like Uso, like in his darkest moments, I forgot exactly how the conversation went. He's like, feeling like stressed about killing and about war. And she says like, that's because your parents raised you to be a good person.
Right.
And it's like, wouldn't it be easier if they hadn't raised me that way? And
what was your response to that?
I forgot exactly the phrasing. But
like, I guess the essence of it is that there's more to life than war making.
Yeah. Right. And I guess it's like the cliche thing of like fighting for something versus just like wanting to see something be destroyed or.
Right.
So I didn't write down the thing about Marbet's speech. I thought it was. I think it was the way it was done was.
I hadn't either. I mean, she's an awesome fucking character.
Yeah, I like that the way it was the way it was like scripted and like the way it was drawn. There was some neat like character acting where like he's putting like these really difficult questions that don't really have answers about like what makes life worth it, or like how do you maintain your morals in like in a difficult world. And like you see her like take a moment to think, be like, I don't want to say the wrong thing here, this is, and like navigate that really sweetly.
Yeah.
And like these themes about like Tomino always believes in like young people growing up in hard times becoming like learning from that, and like he always thinks that, you know, the Ukrainian new types that he likes to talk about,
the kiddos that see past all the politics and military leaders.
There was, I forget, it might have been someone else who says it later. I think it might have been like when those old people all sacrificed themselves ramming the ship into the other ship. I think it might have been around there, and one of them says like, if we can't figure out the problems, or it might have been Uso, I forgot who said it, I just wrote down the quote, but like, if we can't figure out like the problems with humanity, then the next generation will.
Yeah.
I also wrote down this thing. Sorry if it's like a little bit all over the place. I should have had more quotes because like I feel like it is important to see like what Marvet said, because it I feel kind of silly like talking about how great it was and like whatever it was really good. But I wrote this about the turning into infants line, about infantilization, whereas I wrote that like normally it would just be like a critique of infantilization, but I think it said, what I wrote was like, it shows off more a disdain for childhood, where, like, I don't know, like keeping someone in a, you know, trapped in childhood isn't bad because childhood is bad, but it's because it's maintaining a kind of unfair relationship between the adults and the children.
Yeah. I agree. Well, because I don't think Tomino is like that critical of childhood. I mean,
like he'll always take the youth side on it.
What was the baby's name again?
Carl
Man. Carl Man. I mean, this is the youngest character to really come into their own in a Gundam, and he was a badass. He was a badass kid.
Yeah, he helped them locate Fuala, right? He helped them locate Shakti, the most powerful new type since Camille. And it was really sweet. Like, I like how everyone taking care of Carl. And, like, I like that little cap at the end where it's like you see him, like, standing.
He's like, hi, I'm Carl. I'm Carl, man. Who are you?
Oh.
No, so where's it going with that? No, I don't think there's any aspect of like youth or childhood or being an infant that Tomino has trouble with, but it's definitely like the power relations that can get stuck between youth and adults, and what that leads to, which at worst is young people dying for old ideology.
Yeah. Like if there was, I'm glad it didn't stop, but if there was no more Gundam after Victory, I would say that felt like a pretty complete like package for all the themes that have been like touched on in the other stuff, and like a neat evolution too.
Yeah, I agree there. I'd be sad if it were the last Gundam.
Yeah, yes, a dour note, and although like I feel like the ending itself is nice. It kind of implies a kind of peace, at least for these characters.
Yeah, but with the possibilities of like more and more conflict. I think it is super dark that the only time new types are mentioned is in the context of war.
Yeah,
which I think is so far from the original vision of Daikun and what he was meaning.
Right. That is something interesting. I guess
which is kind of dark that like the next stage of like human growth wiped each other out.
That's true. Like, yeah, everyone who would have been everyone, the inheritance of Xeon, new typism, and all that was mostly just more sophisticated ways of killing each other.
Which I is definitely the darker aspect of the UC timeline.
Going back to, because the other thing is like we're talking about Maria kind of being like unspoken new type,
Yeah.
and the psychicers and all that. I think that I forgot to touch on when we were talking about Maria earlier. When she's doing the prayer at the what was it called? The
Angel's
Halo ring?
Halo.
Angel's Halo. That was a cool sequence. I feel like everything around that, the one thing that was missing is a Mobile Suit Gundam Part 3 tripping out kind of visuals.
Yeah, I mean it kind of approached that trippiness
When like
when Uso starts
Uso's going
being
back and forth.
influenced, but none of them have quite broken out in the same way as Part 3 of that movie of those movies.
I like if there was ever a time to bring that back, like we had a lot of opportunities for it.
I do hope it's brought back because that was such an awesome sequence to have for 79.
Yeah. And I think we're so far past like a psychedelic era for visuals. I'm afraid that as Tomino steps back from Gundam, it's gonna get like less, for lack of a better word right now, spiritual.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think Turn A has some capabilities to be
right.
spiritual and psychedelic.
Oh, I can't wait for Turn A. We're a little far off from Turn A, but that's
We still got like Fighter G and Wing.
Yeah.
And I think there's an OVA between that and Turn A.
98, what is it? 08th MS team.
Yes.
Yeah. And those are all, we're in for a good run right now.
I think we are. I mean, at the very least, we're in for some awesome 90s anime, which is...
That's welcome.
That's one of those peaks,
Yeah. Oh, so, yeah, when Maria's doing the prayer and Uso's, like, going back and forth between, like... And it's so sweet, like, the piece that he imagines is, like, just, like, life in Casarelia, like, with all his friends.
Yeah.
It was funny. I was like, I'm going home, packing up. But then, like, like these attacks come in. He has to, like, shake that off and, like, deal with the present dangers. Every time, like, he kind of, like, shook off the influence, it seemed like Maria was responding to that.
Yeah. Yeah, it did seem that way.
And then she would, like, then it seemed like she was getting angry. And, like, I think that shows, like, that kind of, like, the despotism, that sort of, like, self-focused, I don't know, like, conception of her movement. Like, why aren't they listening to me telling them to be peaceful? And she, like, kind of tells them to kill themselves, like, or not to kill themselves, like, it's so far, like, think of, like, the worst pain and, like, sit down. And, like, that's where we see, like, Maria herself, like, take on these darker aspects instead of just, like, her beautiful vision being hijacked by crass politics and militarism.
How am I going to phrase it? Yeah, Maria's like autocracy, despotism at that point. Maybe I'm putting too much into it, but it's kind of like a very strong critique of people that claim to be empaths. Of like, oh, I know how you feel. I'm like super connected to you. Like it's very disrespectful towards like the mysterious otherness of everyone else.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, it's so easy for me to like connect to you.
Like, I understand, so let me just handle all the emotional. Yeah, I think that's valid. Like, certainly of you can say like universalist religion.
Yeah, which I guess is maybe the critique of like what the new types were thought to be too, right? Were these humans that would ultimately figure out connection and like bridge that gap, and they still couldn't do it.
Yeah, and like this critique, I think it shows like the depth of Tomino's anxiety about like human connection. Like, this critique was like in the beginning. Like, I remember in the Gundam novel, when like someone would try to like do a new type connection with someone that wasn't ready for it. I forgot who it was who heard the new type like cry from who, but like the description of it as a mental rape.
Yeah. I think it was one of the Xeon pilots, and Amuro was trying to connect with them, and like vice versa.
Yeah.
And like that, yeah. I think I recall like Sayla and Amuro from the novelization having like some some issues there as well.
Right, with connection. It's because it's an interesting and terrifying thing. It does feel like it's ultimately kind of an unbridgeable thing. Like the new type dream is like if everyone is a new type, then maybe we just like have more tools to navigate or to like understand each other in a deeper way than words.
Right.
But there would still be growing pains, and there's still the potential of like overstepping.
Right, or misunderstandings as well. If you don't have that, I guess frankly, a sense of like self mastery and self confidence.
Right, yeah, it's like in a context, like it's not just the stream in between, but like where everyone's coming from.
Right.
And going back to the Maria thing, I thought it was interesting how she sends out this message for peace. That's mostly killing everyone. But it makes Uso want to go home. And one of the captains, one of the pilots, like it affects him, but I think like it goes like something like he wants peace and then he thinks I have to come back with a military victory. If I just go home, it'll be boring. So it motivates him to fight even more.
Yeah.
And that's interesting how like the like it's not just her symbol that's hijacked, but like people can take the message
and just warp it to
whatever their priorities or indoctrination, if you want,
like how they want to receive it. Mm-hmm. Which is another important thing about communication and connection is less weight is given to intention. Is more about how what's said or what's given is received.
Yeah, at a certain point, it kind of out of your hands, and then Shakti comes in and she takes over the prayer.
Yes.
Oh, it's probably also telling that in between Shakti and Maria, the thing is still kind of operating anyways. Like the psychicers can like take it over from there, even without her at the center of things. That's kind of
right. Once it started, they'll keep on going.
Right. Jesus died, and all the Christians said, "No, he didn't." Right, but then Shakti comes, and her message is more pure, and it moves the rings around till they're no longer a weapon, and it does seem to radiate a kind of like more pure kindness, and going about the generations thing and all that. For most people, but like it makes Katarzyna want to throw up. Like she was not ready for that message. And they were saying like, why does she hate Uso so much? Like she see with Shakti, and like I guess like her anger and her cynicism has made her like completely like unable to receive any of that,
right?
To see any value in that kind of message.
She's too far gone. Then she ends up fucking killing an Odello, who really came into his own.
Yeah, it was like it would happen like kind of naturally throughout the show,
right? Well, it was his relationship with what was her name? But that made me sad that he had to go.
Right, and then what's her name? No, it's not Marta. I want to say something with an M, but I don't think so.
I thought it was an M name. It was something like Marta and
shoot,
Alicia.
What? Oh, Alicia. Yeah, Alicia is one.
There we go. There's so many characters.
Right.
Alicia was that the younger sister? Or...
That's the older sister. That's the one who's Adelo's girlfriend.
Yeah. Her sadness over that really sold the moment for me.
Yeah, when she's holding on to that like charm.
Yeah.
And I like how early they planted it. Like usually the way these things go is the episode before someone says, I can't wait to make you your favorite salad, and then they
then they go. Yeah, this was pretty well done for a TV show that was still going through like a weekly viewing schedule pre-streaming. Like that was well done.
Yeah, like even like their relationship was kind of a slow burn. Like it was funny, like seeing Odello and his brother. What's his name? So many names.
Warren, I think it was.
Warren. Yeah, that was it. They're kind of like tripping over themselves because they're so smitten by them.
one of the funniest moments of the comic relief was Warren picking the flowers on the space station and giving it to the sister. She's like, "Oh my god, what the fuck are you doing, you idiot? That's our
We got to
air."
breathe. And like they're all like teasing each other. They had that moment where they're just doing a patrol, and Alicia like goes on Odello's mobile suit.
Yeah,
Because that's where they give each other the charms, or where he gives her the charm.
I bet I do wonder if he got the other kind of charm.
Yeah, we were missing that scene, and that's funny. I forgot. I think that was around when I was thinking of. He wouldn't have died if she had. It's actually all her fault.
Right, listeners, if you know about the charms, you know about the charms. If you don't, good for you.
Yeah. I liked Tomasz and his brother. They didn't really have an arc. They were just like support characters. But they were like solid. They're like a good emotional center.
Yeah, it was cool to like have Tomasz also be a pilot coming into his own.
Yeah, but by the end of that climax, I was like, no, less pilots. Stay safe. Go inside.
Yeah, but that little white base ship, like it needed that protection.
I mean, that was one of the best decisions that they made. Like, I love white base and Argama. I do love those as like hubs. But from a tension perspective, one of the best choices that they made for Victory Gundam was before the white arc. It was the camion.
Yeah.
And like having it be so like feel so vulnerable and small, like the mobile suits just have to like ride them like jet skis.
It looked cool though. It was a cool design. The anxiety of that little life carrier arc thing being so small really sold the same anxiety of the Double Zeta crew going off alone against Haman.
Yeah,
I think it's cool. I think it's cool when kids take over the ship and do their shit.
But in this case, they had Marbet along with them.
That's true.
And again, Marbet's like she gets like more and more skilled in like grace when talking to Uso and everyone, but she has her own kind of doubts and anxieties. Like it.
I mean, she had it rough. She was like widowed by Oliver and his sacrifice.
Oh my god! And when she's out, I think it was like when Tomasz is one of Tomasz's first like space battles.
Yeah.
They're fighting, and then she finds herself like unconsciously like using them as shields, even though like it seemed like it was just like kind of like the way that the battles went. Like they would happen so fast. Like I didn't even think about it until she was like, "Oh my god, I did it!" And she's like, "Oh my god, I did it again."
Yeah, it was hard for me to notice too, but I guess not so much as shields, but she was allowing their inexperience to like bait the enemies to like go for them, and then she would respond defensively.
Yeah, I guess that's how it would work out. They'd be like distracted, and she'd be able to shoot them down. But I thought that was interesting, like showing like I think it's easy metaphor of like when you want to look out for people, but you have your own weaknesses and hang-ups too.
Right.
And that was sweet. Like they kind of absolved her. Like she even like apologized. Like she comes clean. Like there's like no like pride in that. She's just like she really wants to take care of them, and they're like, it's all right. Like we had to do what we had to do. They really felt like such a family.
Yeah. Hey, you can make like a sitcom of it, or the Jetsons type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it could have. Let me see if I can find actually what Marbet says too.
I'll share my little notes in the meantime. I was happy that Uso's left-handed. I think those occasional left-handed characters is cool.
Are you left-handed?
I am left-handed.
Oh hell yeah! So this is cool. It just means you're better. And also like it comes up also in a way that shows the like the messed up situation that Uso grew up in. Yeah,
where he was throwing knives at trees. His mom's like, "Oh, well, I guess you're left-handed. Well, if you use your right hand, you gotta use both."
Right, and it's a neat metaphor for like he is not a violent guy, but he was trained to be really good at violence.
Right.
Then the metaphor too of a knife, like yeah, it's a weapon, but it's mostly a tool for skinning animals, hunting, cutting rope.
His Uso's mom was sweeter than his father, I thought.
Yeah, right. Some of even in the flashbacks when she's training him, whatever, she's still like giving him advice, and then she's when they reunite, she's like helping him out. And it was a funny thing. Like there's so many like hostage situations that happen in this show. There's a lot of like infiltration, switching,
Yeah, I feel like Uso gets captured quite a bit.
or they pretend to be captured, or there's a like I think it really worked. Like all the flipping.
Sorry, I like those moments of like escape, even if they meant to be captured or not. And it's like the prison camp one was pretty cool. It was fun.
Oh yeah, with the wedding.
Yeah, yeah.
Where Marvick something really off color, where Uso's jealous, and she just goes, "Oh, you want to be the one to have my baby?"
Yeah. He turns just so red in the face.
like way to escalate.
I'm surprised that bikini tactic didn't work.
That the what?
The bikini squad
Oh,
didn't work
yeah.
out and messing up Uso.
Well, Marbet prepared him.
I guess so. Marvin and Strike Team.
Oh, okay, so Marbet is like obvious. Like there's I think like she's a great example as an adult, like without even bringing in like gender stuff. But I bet like if you asked Tomino, he would say, she's also like a really positive version of matriarchy, of like what like true caring motherhood is.
Yeah.
Maria's kind of a bad one because she can like only lead by example at best. If you want to say, like, it's very like focused on herself, even though she means well. Uso's not very whatever. Like I would say like the worst by whatever metric you want to say, like either like presentation or from the on its own terms. I would say like probably the darkest version besides Katarzyna is like Lupe Cineau's sudden turn.
Was she the one naked in that bathtub?
Yeah, the pedophile.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That is for sure.
For one, like maybe my least favorite trope that seems to come up a lot in anime is like, I love to be killed by a strong man.
No, it's not a good trope.
Like her advances is like she also like she's so drawn to Uso as a good boy, and she's like inviting him into her bosom. Like I'm forgetting all the big lines, but like the weird advance is like it feels like until Katarzyna becomes like the main villain at the end, like a kind of like I don't know, like do you remember like did you ever see Pink Floyd's The Wall?
Yeah.
Like all that stuff with like the scary mom monster, like all these anxieties, like these Oedipal anxieties about like mom consuming you.
Yeah, well, and then girlfriend also being consuming. I do remember The Wall too, where they're like man eating flowers.
Yeah, I think like it's tough to like talk about Lupe Cineau because I feel like it's like so tied up in like those kinds of fears.
Yeah, there is something Oedipal about her and Uso's
dynamic
dynamic thing they got going on.
Yeah, or at least like Lupe's thing, and Uso's like, get away from me.
She's scary. The amount of times I heard Boya and that like that tone it's scary.
Right. That's actually what I wrote in my notes was where'd I put it? Lupe's attack is frightening and strange. And, but like it's put into words. I think like Uso's like, if you want to be a mom, like get your own child. Don't make me be that for you or whatever. I forgot what he said exactly.
Don't make me be your son husband.
Might as well have said that.
In essence, that's what he said. Like, raise your own child.
Yeah.
Like none of this has anything to do with me.
I think it's like this definitely had like a lot of the like went deepest on that kind of like youth versus olds relationships, and that's like the worst. Like I don't know if it's fair to, but like like what we were talking about before about infantilization being a kind of tool to maintain a kind of oppressive dynamic.
Yeah, and
on top of all that strange psychosexual stuff, and then like I could not understand why. Well, I guess I don't know, you could like I don't know. I want to give a shot at like putting into words what is meant by then her turning around and doing like blowing up. Was she with Pipini then?
Yeah, I think she was.
Well, like yeah, like blowing up their ship.
I think she was disappointed that he was weak man.
Yeah,
That
like
just couldn't possibly be a capable father for the new type that she would mother. That's what I took
right.
that as.
Yeah, I guess like she's playing out this whole thing that like I doubt like Uso even knows Pipini's like name or face necessarily. I don't remember if they have any scenes together.
I don't think they do. I don't think they have any scenes together. So he knows nothing of that dude.
Right, but Lupe is like imagining this whole thing, like because like right, like he like touch her ass and she'll kiss him, and then later she'll be like wiping her lips, like this guy sucks. So
Yeah.
like Pipino thinks he's using her. He thinks he's like being Paptimus Kuroko.
Yeah. Nice
And
name drop.
and she's just using him, I guess, to like have power directly in terms of like the mobile suit and all that, being close to all this like destruction or whatever. And then she's like, Uso's like, now that is a real man slash boy.
Boya.
Boy. Yeah, I say it like that, kind of like that breathy boy. So then, I don't know. I guess when she gets enough of him, she's like, all right, now I'm gonna show that other guy what he gets. I don't know, like I couldn't like put it into like a tidy package.
I guess like the Black Widow praying mantis phenomenon, maybe that could be like another type of matriarchy.
Oh yeah, like we're talking about her like consuming Uso, but I guess that's her way of consuming him. But one is like, but like filtered through like a sort of worship of power, maybe.
Yeah, I think clearly she's a very Freudian
Oh
theory model character. I'm not the best with Freud.
yeah, yeah. I feel like a lot of that stuff is mixed in, and you could even like say like this is like a virtuous side of motherhood and a dark side of motherhood, a virtuous side of like childhood versus immaturity.
I think this is the darker side of what that matriarchy could look like or be.
And like with the generation stuff too, like she is in her own way choosing the younger generation over the older generation. It just happens to be in a more like dark, semi-pedophilic way.
Yeah, and the only way she knows how.
Yeah. She was too embedded in that kind of death worshipping Zan scare.
God, can you imagine how she grew up?
Oh, that's true. To end up like that, yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know if I would want to see Tomino's version of that.
It'd go places.
Right.
You know, I never watched that clip from Stardust Crusaders about that one Zen captain.
Oh, the SEMA?
Yeah. There might be like a similar like survivor syndrome too as well.
Oh yeah, just like going to where you think you have a better shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like Seema always thinks that she's like playing the game, and at the end of Lupe's thing, she's like fully like given in to her, like to her unconscious urges, or at the end of it, she like even sacrifices herself. Like she's maybe
Right.
playing the game, but like for the purpose of like this strange like metaphorical.
I mean, it's this unconscious mix of like sex and death.
She like her character serves really well, at least like to just kind of like spike the show with those kinds of feelings and themes, even though if I'm not sure what it comes down to.
It's very complicated to try and make like a smooth statement around.
Yeah, somehow I feel like it especially like I'm half certain like the coherent explanation is one I probably like vehemently disagree with.
Yeah, right.
I found the I found the section. Let me just like read for like what Marbet says, to go back into the positives.
Awesome, please.
Okay, so that was what I forgot is that, yeah, he talks about like it would have been better if I was more war crazy, and she's like, and she says like maybe your parents' ideals are good, and okay, so I'm like at it here. So Uso says I don't want your baby to have to go through this too, and she invites him to feel. I guess it was just like a sweet moment. Like maybe we don't remember a wisdom spoken because it was more of a feeling of hope.
Right.
God, that was so sweet. And then everyone like coming around.
Right. We get the sense from the scene that like life goes on. There's hope in the next generation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, there was no extra wisdom, but it was just like a sweet moment.
It was a super sweet moment. I mean, I do remember the scene. I know exactly what you're talking about. I felt as though there was something wise said as well, but...
Oh, you know, I'm going a little back, and there's like a little bit of that essentialist stuff where he's like, oh, I guess it's her like also trying to make Uso feel better, but she's talking about how men have to go fight so that women can make the home and all that.
Right.
Are men just tools for killing because women make new life while men, they protect the environment life grows in, right? That's why they leave home to work? Does that apply to war too? Your dad seems like he's obsessed with war. No, she threads the needle.
I have a hard time agreeing with any of the essentialist gender norm stuff. I mean, Marbe clearly doesn't represent that, but
yeah, like because she like
that's a critique. Is just more gender stuff, more gender issues.
Yeah, I think like the blow is softened overall. Like every time like we come up against the gender thing, it's always like a little bit thornier, a little bit like a lot more caveats to like to praise or to scenes.
Which is it just doesn't add up with what we're seeing though. Like with how Marbe or the strike team alone are just represented in their actions. Like it doesn't match up with what they say.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's the thing that softens it is that you'll occasionally have a character say the craziest shit about gender, but the characters themselves, like Tomino seems to like, or and his crew. Of course, it's not just his. It's not like it doesn't come out of his head like Zeus, but. What was I gonna say? Oh, he'll like give these characters like actual like psychologies and like arcs and things. Like Marbet like feels real, like not just like an idealized version of a mother. And I would say the same about Maria or Uso's mother or Seabook's mother in F91. Like there's a commitment to like seeing people as people that I think is like as long as like that is motivating you, some good's gonna come out,
right? And it'll be good. And we've known about this Gundam teams / Tomino's issues since Zeta.
Yeah,
at least.
Right. Yeah. So we were also like we're inured a little bit. We've got the shots.
Oh yeah.
I think we hit on all my favorite like big picture stuff about Victory Gundam.
Yeah, I think we've done an awesome job of like covering the broad aesthetics or thematic scope that Victory has that kind of either separated itself from previous Gundams or further explored what was stated in previous series and movies.
Right.
It's a good series.
Right. It has
I'm surprised that this one is not so well liked or appreciated.
Yeah, I need to go back and see like where did this critical reception? Where did this like? It's so weird. Like they're so for a while the people agreed that the worst ones were Double Zeta Gundam F91 and Victory Gundam in the UC at least.
I liked all those. Like
yeah,
I think I kind of covered it before. Like in Victory, some of the darker shadings from Double Zeta's missing. It is a little melancholy. It's another darker series where most of them are. Maybe it was the bathtub scenes or some of the goofier aspects of it that like detracted from it. Yeah,
I could have done without that.
Just having the whole episode that like I don't know. we covered all the broad strokes for sure. I do love the version 2 of this Victory Gundam as well. Like the little details on it, the V's, the wings
The V on the chest.
Yeah, the V on the shield that it got. The Angel Wings of Light are a cool contrast with Angel Halo once it comes into full.
Yeah, it always like there was a shot that I thought was so like cool looking, like when I think they're on Earth, they're like fighting around the water, and like the wings like sprout out from the ocean, and they like evaporate from the water, and that splash is like really well animated. Yeah, they get a lot of mileage out of those wings as like offensive and defensive weapons. You wouldn't think that blades that come out of the back of your thing would be so useful, but
you get so many uses out of it in so many clever ways, and ways that save lives too.
Yeah. Like, whoever designed it was like, Uso needs to be able to use limbs to destroy his targets. But we're running out of arms and legs to give him. So we gotta do something else. Do you have anything rechargeable? Like, I'm glad that like we got the final thing of like, give me all of your boots. I got a perfect plan. I was like, yeah, you do. So
yeah, it was the perfect plan. It was good. It was good shit.
Yeah, and that one made sense because that was against Fuala, right? So like it was like a really really strong, mobile armor, and she had like really heightened senses because of the bell and the Psycom-U stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. His use of like partial transformations was always cool, even in part one.
Yeah, I did miss that in part one. I guess like they did all of that, but I remember the first time I saw the Gundam with just the boots and no arms. I was like, yes,
it's
like
wacky looking.
Yeah, there's a moment too in the first half where someone gets on Uso's back and the Gundam's head turns around 180 degrees and shoots.
Yeah.
That was like they really like. I like thinking of it as like not like just this symbol thing, but like just a tool, like just a machine that you can use in any way. Like really, there's some really imaginative uses of the machine. A small moment I want to shout out is Odello calling Uso his little brother.
That was sweet.
Yeah, that alone had me like choking up. Like I don't think I've been as affected emotionally by a Gundam show until like this last stretch of episodes. I really felt like every death, like Junko and Odello, of course. Uso getting stabbed, and you think like, oh my god, it's gonna be the end of Uso. No, please not Uso.
I think emotionally, we're in the pocket, and Char's counterattack hit just as much.
The Dublin colony drop.
F-91, Cecily floating in space, and Seabrook freaking out, trying to find her.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm just doing a little bit of recency bias. There's some.
I mean, this is an emotional one for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
this emotional Gundam. I do recommend it. I say to listeners, ignore the haters. Victory Gundam is top notch. Like,
yeah.
Form your own opinions.
Yeah, if you think it sucks, I'm ready to hear.
We'll have to fight, but.
But
cool.
Yeah, this is good. A fitting cap to the UC so far.
I think so. For now.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see where things go next.
Hell yeah.
But I think that do you want to? Think we should call it a pleasant evening.
I think we should. We should call it a pleasant Victory Gundam evening. V2 released.
And as always, let me see. I have the perfect quote here. Something everyone can live by. Well, I have two quotes. I think a nice one would be, there's nothing sadder than becoming an adult while crying. But
jeez.
That's not good advice, is it? That's maybe true.
My advice, my quote is, Amuro, stop me, I'm doing something wicked.
That's good. Hold on. What I would like to leave everyone out with is, the man who just polishes his seat with his ass is finished.
Yeah.
I forgot who said that.
I would say so. Hell yeah.
Have a pleasant evening.
Bye, listeners. Pleasant evening.